So how do you think we can describe, this is people reading our article are going to be confused by this good water comes in, and then this other water, terrible water. How do we differentiate that?
Well, as far as we were concerned, any surface water, I think we came to the conclusion that any surface water should have clarification.
I see, okay.
Any well water, most well waters, deep well waters, can be used without clarification for our purposes.
Okay. So in deciding what is ultra pure water, we're going to say that that's for surface water? I really want to exclude the deep well waters because they're not really significant in the semiconductor industry because most of their plants are on surface water. So I don't want to confuse people by, well, we just don't know which we're going to have. And so mostly the smaller towns like Seneca Falls would have well water, and most of your plants had well water. So you didn't have to worry about this lousy water. But when you got into a big city, I'm speaking semiconductors now, like
Right.
TI was Dallas.
Yeah.
There's just not enough well water to
That's right.
possibly handle Dallas. Dallas is 80 million gallons a day, you know. So we didn't really recognize, and nobody at Texas Instruments recognized, that they had a rotten water supply until we exposed it with the mineralizers. So I want to be able to get people to think that there's safe water supplies, which are probably deep wells, and surface water, which are dangerous waters, or they have to be clarified. So how are we going to define ultra-pure water?
Well, ultra-pure water, as far as our thinking is concerned, is 18, as long as it registers 18 mego.
Yeah, right.
And that should be essentially organic-free and particulate-free.
So how would you describe ultra-pure water?
18 megohm.
You're just finding the use point. I'm trying to think of what we could call it up front.
That's the best explanation I could give you is the 18 megohm, because at least in our time there was no better way to measure ultra-pure water, and it was my understanding that the 18 megohm was the best reading that you could get.
That's true. That's true.
So
I'm thinking about water which can be made into 18 megohm and water which can't be made into 18 megohm. How are people going to define whether they should live in this town or not?
Theoretically, you could make, by proper pre-treatment, so where you theoretically you make any water into the 18 megohm or ultra pure water.
Yeah.
It's like this Algerian plant I was telling you about. As far as I know, it works because I didn't hear otherwise. But you know, they had very deep wells in the desert area, and the water, I'm sure if you pumped it out of the ground, you could pave your driveway with it.
Yeah, right.
But you just keep pre-treating, you keep doing what you have to do until on the end of the line you can run it through a mixed bed demineralizer.
18 megohm, you would call it ultra pure water. When it got there, but what do you call it back here? Has it got a different designation? That's future ultra pure water. But what do you call it back here? What can you tell the guy that's looking for a plant site not to avoid? Surface water?
Well, Ideally, you probably have less problems if you can get a source of deep well water. Or if the next best choice is probably to get into a large lake like we have around here, where the water doesn't vary too much. As you know, surface water at different times of the year varies all over the map.
Sure. Surface
And,
water is
you-
really
you have
dangerous.
to be set up in order to handle that. Whereas your standard deep well, or your deep well, should have pretty much the same quality water
If
the
you
year
were looking
round.
for a plant site, what would you not go towards?
Well,
You like deep well water. Well, suppose you can't get it, then what do you do?
well, you look for the best source of like a deep lake, or like we have here in Seneca Falls. This certainly, a smaller body of water is going to have a lot more rapid changes in.
It look like the Silicon Valley is enormous. They have enormous water usages. And so they all, I don't know whether it's good water or bad water. Where was your plant out there? Was that at Silicon Valley?
No, we didn't. In California, it was at Fullerton, which is adjacent to Los Angeles. It actually had Los Angeles water,
Yeah.
which was Colorado River water. They pump, well,
Yeah.
Los Angeles gets their water from wherever they can, and some of it may be even coming down from Northern California.
Yeah, that's right.
At
That's
the
touchy, right.
time we were working out there, and it was primarily Colorado River water, which was pumped 200 I don't know, 35 miles or so from Colorado.
So you would define ultra pure water as that water which can be made in a 20 megohm quality. But now Texas Instruments could make their water at 22 megohm, but it would only last for 3 hours. The mixed beds had a short-term capability of removing whatever the test
Was this due to fouling or?
Dallas water, whatever the hell it has. It has cows, I suppose, manures,
Yeah.
surface water. And the mixed beds could take that out for 3 hours, and then they would crater. So they had to regenerate mixed beds every 3 hours. It had nothing to do with capacity, as you know.
Okay.
But they had
Is
the
it- well,
ability
that's-
to remove,
Fouling,
Fouling for
primarily
3 hours.
organic fouling. Okay,
and then
well,
when it was
that,
down to 10 megohm, they'd take it off the
Yeah.
line and regenerate it.
but
They were
that,
regenerating continuously.
yeah, but that tells you, you gotta take that stuff out before it gets to the demineralizer, you don't want the demineralizer taking that out.
How would TI not have located their plant in Dallas?
Yeah.
I mean, why did they do that? Because they ruined themselves.
Yeah.
They threw away millions of dollars worth of stuff for an entire year. 80% they threw away. I mean, they lost millions.
Yeah, I know. Well, our plants, the water got out of limits, they were shut down.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Not making a piece of good equipment or a good product. So it's,
So anyway,
no, if you want a demineralizer, a mixed bed demineralizer, or any demineralizer for that matter, because you can foul a two bed too, any resin, you got to do your pre-treatment and take out everything but the mineral content before it hits. The resin is good only for removing mineral content.
yeah, that's a good way to describe it.
Right. And if you want to keep it running and keep it from fouling, that's what you have to do. And the best,
So people looking for a plant site would have to determine whether they could make 22,
that's right.
18 meg out of the water before they bought the plant site.
That's right. We did this in trying to locate our plants across the country. I was on trips, almost every trip I went on, I was carrying a bottle of water back to the lab to analyze it.
So you're looking for waters which were treatable.
That's
to
right.
18 meg.
Without spending a fortune.
Yes.
And I used to have some real arguments with the airline people because I told them the bottle I was carrying was water, and they wouldn't believe me. They thought I was kidding them or something. But I've carried water back from Venezuela and from Fullerton, California, from Chicago. And we were looking at one time for plants in Chicago. I carried water back from a number of locations in Chicago. And I was always carrying a gallon of water around with me.
Yeah, right.
But that's basically, if you want to demineralize and you want the best quality water, you've got to keep the resins clean and free of any kind of fouling, organic fouling. So that means you got to do your pre-treatment back here.
What does that organic test consist of?
Well, we used primarily, for lack of something better, we used oxygen consumed method, the standard. That's shown, well, in this one here. Let's see.
Is that the original paper?
No, this is the second one that
Okay, all
I
right.
saw today.
And that has the oxygen consumed explained.
Yeah, we used, they say, analysis periodically of the organic content of the water by the oxygen consumed method has been helpful in determining the effectiveness of pretreatment equipment and of detecting slime buildup at various points in the system, because we had to keep track of any slime buildup in the pipeline, and if it got to build up, we'd have to chemically.
You found that on some installations or all of them?
Well, particularly ones with surface water is more prevalent than because of the slime forming. I'm a great believer in superchlorination.
Yes, I am too. Clean it all out first.
Right. But you can't overstress the pre-treatment,
Right.
believe me.
Now, the pre-treatment after the filters would have a low nitrogen content, or low nitrogen test content.
You talking about oxygen now?
Oxygen
consumed?
yes.
Well, after you superchlorinate, of course, you don't want the excess chlorine to hit the resin because that breaks them down.
Yes.
So we use activated carbon to remove the chlorine, free chlorine, before it goes into the demineralizer. I'm still looking for my oxygen consumed.
Where's the men's room?
I'll take you.
I guess we're gonna break for a little while.